Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the MBA Graduate Pathway Information Session. My name is Russell Williams. I'm the Dean for the Qatar campus. Welcome again. I think many of you will know me. I've met you before when you were studying for your IBM program here on the Doha campus. So what I'm going to do this afternoon, I'm going to just run through what you have to do to top up your MSc to an MBA. Actually, you will walk away with 2 certificates. You'll keep your MSc certificate and you'll gain your MBA certificate when you successfully complete the MBA graduate pathway. It won't say MBA graduate pathway on your degree certificate. It will just say MBA. So, okay, let's kick off. Congratulations, because most of you will have your MSc International Business Management program. You'll have got through the 11 courses, or you're currently studying for the MSc IBM and you're just on your last paper now. This is a little bit of a unique opportunity for you to get advanced standing for some of this study that you've done or are finishing off on your IBM, and count that towards an MBA program. This opportunity is only available to Aberdeen graduates who've been on our IBM program, and it is recognised by the Ministry of Education and Higher Education. Okay, so the MBA involves 12 taught courses. They're all 15 credit courses. Your courses, your taught ones are all 15, and of course you did a 30 credit critical studies paper. Some of the courses that you took on your IBM are also taken by the MBA students, and that's where we're able to recognise your prior achievement in those modules. So we're going to recognise from the IBM, and the university is going to recognise this, and it's approved by the ministry, Accounting and Finance for Managers, HRM, the Leadership Challenge, Marketing Management, Digital Marketing, and New Venture Creation. So we're recognising 90 credits from your IBM program, which you'll be counting towards the MBA program. What does that mean or leave for you to study? What do you have to obtain? Well, you're going to have to do 3 more block talk courses: business strategy, managing change, and operations and project management. Each of those are 15 credit units. And in addition to that, you're going to take the MBA Professional Practice Journal, and I'll explain a little bit more detail about that one in particular. How and when are you going to study and what's involved? Those are the sort of questions I'm going to cover now, but I recognise that you know some of this detail already. So in the first semester of 2021-22, you'll study business strategy. And in the second semester of next academic year, you'll study managing change, and then in the third summer semester you'll study operations and project management. Okay, when you complete those and you've submitted all your work, you'll progress to the MBA Professional Practice Journal, and you take that journal, and I'll explain a little bit more about that in a minute, in the next academic year, 2022-23. So you'll only register for 3 courses in the first year, 45 credit points worth, and you'll register for 45 credit professional practice journal in 22-23. Now, for the MBA, you must have 2 years prior experience to joining. So it's critical that after or by the end of the first year, 2021-22, you must have 2 years appropriate experience to commence the MBA Professional Practice Journal. And I will look at that with you if there's any ambiguity. I'll just need a comprehensive CV and we'll go through the work experience that you have. But you still have 1 year to basically September 2022-23 to get another year's work experience. And this is important because one thing about an MBA is it requires you to do some reflection on practice, which really means reflection on your own practice or reflection on practice that you've had before or general organizational experience. And you're going to do that in the 3 taught modules you do in the first semester. and you're also going to do it in this MBA professional practice journal. So the 3 talk courses, the business strategy, managing change, the operations and project management, they will be familiar to you in the format that you've studied before. They are block taught. You will have preparation materials, you'll have an intensive delivery week, and then you'll have an assessment period. But what may be different for many of you is that everybody on the graduate pathway will have 2 weeks to complete your individual assessment. So previously, if you were on the full-time pathway, you only had 1 year, but for these 3 talk courses, you'll have 2 weeks assessment. That gives you a little bit more time to do that reflection about what have you learned in that course, how does it relate to you, how does it relate to the world of work that you're operating in. Same sort of assessment formats that you've experienced before on your MSc. You know, the MBA strategy course, you have to do a group presentation, strategic analysis, and then you have to do an individual report. Managing change, you do a group poster with a sort of briefing note or an executive summary alongside it, and then you do an individual assignment which has something to do with reflecting on your own experience of change and how you've reacted to that, and that kind of analysis. Okay, so you can begin to see it's going to be delivered in the same way and assessed in the same way. So let's talk about the professional practice journal, which is the key vehicle that is about you reflecting on your skills, knowledge and understanding obtained in both the MSc, but importantly, more specifically in the MBA, in light of your own experiences. Okay, so that's it. It's a lot to do with reflection. Let's move on one more slide. So what does all of this mean? What does it mean, the professional practice journal? So you look back at the theories, the models, the frameworks that you've studied, the body of knowledge that you've studied across the MSc and the MBA. We're going to select some, or you're going to select some, and you're going to reflect on them in practice, the workplace or the organization that you've experience of. And reflecting on really means analyzing and evaluating. It means, so for example, how useful were some of those change tools for change in your organization? We might look back at another module, and I'll explain which modules that you can look at. We might look at, say, issues in international management. What did you learn there about communication or cultural competence, perhaps, and how does that relate to your world of work and relate to your own needs as a manager, supervisor, manager, and leader of the future? So it's all translated. It's going back and reflecting on the new modules that you've taken in the first year, picking also some ones that you studied previously, and really locating them, not just as a body of work, but also locating them in what they mean and their value and contribution to you and an organization. And maybe something also about your own personal development as well, how you're going to use that knowledge, that reflective insight that you've obtained to make you a better manager and leader. Okay. So there's a guide for reflection. I've mentioned one already, you know, identify and locate. So we'll go back. You're not going to have to do this for every course, but you're going to select some and put together a portfolio of this sort of scheme of activities. So locate the theories, models, frameworks. What does that mean? It means you set them out. You maybe tell me or the reader of your journal a little bit about the historical development. You tell me and the reader a little bit about how they fit relative to other theories. You tell me or the reader something about any empirical evidence that there is to support the theories, or what people say the advantages are, the disadvantages. So what we're doing there is we're identifying, locating, and we're beginning, or you are beginning, to do the critical appraisal when you do that location work. How do they fit relative to other theories? What are the advantages and disadvantages? What's the empirical evidence? Now, the reflection bit comes on thinking about the organization and how these models and frameworks, theories, how they actually translate into useful things that you can deploy in the world of work. So you could think, for example, about how change has been enacted in your organization in the past. Did they apply the theory? Did they not apply the theory? How could they have applied the theory? Would it have got a better result? Would be your sort of reflection on a change model that maybe you've introduced in that model. Similarly, we go back to issues in international management. You know, are you communicating across cultures? Do people have these cultural competences? Are cultural competences and communication a barrier? How would you train and what would you train the staff and yourself to be a better intercultural communicator? So it's all about, you know, thinking about the context and developing, ultimately, I guess, a plan for the organization and a plan for you to do that. So where are you now? What's being done? How could it be done better? And the mechanisms for securing that in the medium term. So that's a little bit more about the professional practice journal in terms of how you go through this. You'll get a supervisor. I've supervised some of the students in Aberdeen that have done this. And the first thing we do is we sort of select 6 modules from the ones that they have studied on the MSc and the MBA. And we think about, within each of the modules, perhaps some of the more substantive theories that you've looked at. And we think about, how can we fit those theories and models to your world of work? And what normally happens is that the students in Aberdeen, they had a go at this. They wrote a reflection to headings that we agreed. So sort of starting with identifying the theory, what is it? And then in the sort of evaluation of the theory, what does the empirical evidence say? What does it say about alternative theories? Then we talk about locating it in the organization, and then we drill down to the personal reflection. So normally you would write one, and then the supervisor, they will give you some formative feedback on that entry that you have made. And each one is about 1,500 words. So you're going to produce 6 of these 1,500 word entries. And the only other thing you have to do is you have to write a 1,000 word short summary piece on this idea of reflective practice. So the MBA is about, of course, it's about acquiring subject knowledge, but it's also about being a reflective practitioner. And I ask you just to write a reflection on this process of reflection. Okay, now you can do that before you start the 6 substantive entries, or you can do it alongside it. We'll have a talk as a supervisor with you about reflection before you sort of motor off and do your reflections. Now, of course, I know that you've done some reflection already, because everyone studied the leadership challenge, and a large part of that course, you know, when you reflect on how it went in the simulation, the Everest simulation, and a lot of you reflected as well on the team process and your role in the team, and you did that reflection on your role based on some of those tests that you did, the colours or Myers-Briggs or something else. So you know how to reflect. We just want you to do it in perhaps a little bit more structured way for this MBA professional practice journal. Now you complete this journal over 1 semester. So in 2022-23, you can choose to do it in the first semester, September to December, in which case you'll go to the board that meets after Christmas, or you can choose to do it in the second semester, January to February, in which case you would go to the June assessment board, or of course you can choose to do it in the summer, in which case you'll go to the October assessment board. Okay, so you can slightly fast track it by doing it earlier rather than later, but the key thing is that you've got to have 2 years of agreed work experience when you start the professional practice journal. So you can start getting the courses out of the way, but when you start the MBA professional practice journal, you must have these 2 years of work experience completed. Okay, let's have a look at next steps, and then we'll have Khaled just remind us what the next steps are in just a second. Then if you've got any questions, pop them in the chat. I think we've got chat open. Pop them in the chat, and we'll have a go at answering any questions that you've got. I'm just booting the chat up for myself. Khaled, I'm going to hand over to you.
Thank you, Russell. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm here to talk to you about how to apply once you want to do the MBA program. So you need a filled-in application form, and what you need to submit along with that application form is your university graduation certificate, university transcript, an updated letter of experience from your current workplace, an updated CV for today's date, or the day that you apply, and a valid Qatar ID. And if you want to get any more information on how to do all that and what you need to submit, you can call our admissions department on 44201000, or you can come into our campus and speak to myself or one of the other course advisors who can give you all the information that you need along with the application form. If you want, you could just download it from the following website, print it out, fill it in, and send it to us via email. Thank you very much. Pass it over back to Russell.
Thank you very much, Khaled. Okay, and of course, you know, if you come in and speak to Khaled and other members of the recruitment admissions team and you want to speak to an academic about the program, you can of course arrange a meeting with myself, or you'll be able to arrange a meeting with Dr. Lynn Batchelor. She can also meet you and talk about the program. Okay, so I've got the chat open. Don't have any questions in the chat at the moment. Hopefully that means my presentation was clear, but as Khaled said, any questions, doubt, they can go to recruitment admissions. They will pass them through to me or to Lynn. If you put them into recruitment admissions first, they'll know who's most available, Lynn Batchelor or myself, to answer them. Summarize, it's the first year is completing the 45 talk credits, 3 15 credit courses, 1 each semester. And the first year, you do that 1 each semester. Second year, it's about completing the MBA professional practice journal. It's a unique opportunity to obtain 2 postgraduate degree certificates, only open to Aberdeen students. Okay, I think I'm going to close the meeting. I don't see any questions coming in. Thank you very much, everyone, for your attention. Have a good afternoon, what remains of it, and I look forward to seeing you again on the campus. Goodbye.